John Scott, Lindsey, Moppert, Vic Carucci in the snow globe that is Highmark Stadium following the Bills' divisional win over the Ravens 27-25. We sat here a week ago and were saying, what's going to be different round 2 from the week 4 beatdown of Baltimore over the Bills? Lindsey, we'll start with you. What was different tonight that allowed the Bills to be victorious?
Well, a big talking point in this game, John, was the fact that the Bills were missing 3 key defensive starters in that Week 4 matchup. Come to find out, Bills come away with 3 takeaways on the day, and one of them, the last one, the game-sealing really one from Terrell Bernard, one of the guys that was missing. The turnovers in this game were key. They were the game changer, in my opinion. And the defense, again, just really stepped up in the moments that they needed to.
Yeah, I would say the biggest difference, of course, those turnovers, but the physicality of the Bills, and especially on that defensive side, they matched, for the most part, what the Ravens brought physically on offense. And what we saw back in September was physical dominance by the Ravens up and down the field, and it left a storyline, a narrative that the Bills just couldn't hold up against this team. Well, the Bills proved that wrong. For the most part, holding Derrick Henry in check for the first half, and then by the second half, yeah, he got some things rolling, made the game closer, but by and large, I think the story of this game was how this Bills defense took the ball away and held up physically.
8 carries, 21 yards for Derrick Henry in the first half. He then had 6 for 58 in the third quarter when Baltimore really started to mount their comeback, but all-encompassing, I agree with you. All we talked about was, can this Bills run defense, which has had warts and issues beyond the Derrick Henry game, can they stand up against it? And then the other part of that equation is certainly Lamar Jackson. I found it fascinatingly ironic, maybe going into this game, that maybe the Bills' philosophy was, let's really put our eggs in the stopping Derrick Henry basket and force potential 3-time MVP Lamar Jackson to beat them. They rolled out 3 linebackers more times than I expected, with Dorian Williams on the field, really illustrating that was maybe their plan. And it kind of worked pretty well.
Yeah, at the start of the game, John, like you said, I do think it was kind of ironic. As you said, for the second week in a row, you know, the stadium here just absolutely getting shut down, going quiet because of how quickly they were able to capitalize on that first drive and go down there and score. And it wasn't because of Derrick Henry, as you said, as much as he kind of was limited in the first half. They were kind of just making little plays down the field, letting Lamar, you know, do what he does. And as we've heard all week, it was difficult, this matchup specifically, because you think you can't completely stop them both. And I feel like, as you said, that was definitely what we saw, like, off the bat.
Yeah, I agree, John, to the point that it kind of worked in terms of the strategy. It absolutely was what they were trying to do, was put it on the Ravens passing game to beat them. Well,
it almost did.
Yeah, I was going to say, they made some plays through the air, including that very late touchdown that set up a situation that had, I think, everybody in this stadium on the edge of their seat. And then Mark Andrews drops the 2-point conversion, and of course, that's the game pretty much. But in terms of going about it that way, daring Lamar to beat them mostly with his arm, yeah, it made sense to do that, because we saw what happened when Henry took control of the game. And it's not just the yards, the production, it's the tone setting that happens when the other team has a back like that, and he's really a one-of-a-kind guy, and the offensive line doing its thing. So I did like the strategy by and large, but yes, I would say there are going to be nervous moments, and you think about it, and you heard it from Sean McDermott. He said, through God's grace, they held on to win this game.
Vic, I want to go back to you about something that we'll get to maybe with some other guys as the conversation goes. But narrative surrounding Sean McDermott in the postseason, especially in this divisional round. You and I were discussing in real time the decision to kick the field goal to go up 8 as opposed to 4th and goal from the 3 to put the game away. It almost backfired. And then even this, it's Bobby Babbitt's defense, but it's Sean McDermott's defense. Right. He certainly had a voice in the decision-making process to have DeMar Hamlin be a spy, to go with the 3 linebackers. They win the football game. What did you think of McDermott's coaching tonight?
Yeah, look, I think, and you're right. You and I had it was a running conversation up to that point because, okay, at one point they were at the 1 yard line on that end, and it looked like going for the touchdown made a lot of sense then. And I think you and I reached the consensus. And then as it's backing up and they respot the ball at the 3, okay, maybe trying for the touchdown didn't seem as logical, or certainly it seemed more risky or riskier. So you kick the field goal, and kudos to Tyler Bass and the faith they had in him to kick that 51-yarder, and then that field goal that puts them ahead by 8. But in the back of our mind is there's enough time here for Baltimore to do exactly what it did, get a touchdown and be in a position to get a 2-point conversion. Look, it's easy to look back on it and say, what if? But it didn't happen. But I'm sure had they tied this game, had they forced overtime, and even if the Bills win it in overtime, the second guessing all three of us would be, and everybody would be doing.
Then, thank goodness we don't have to have those conversations, at least for another week. We'll see what happens in Kansas City. Lindsey, it's funny, when we have conversations about the Bills and success, and Josh Allen is not at the top of the list, but Josh Allen was not the focal point. I'm going to pat myself on the snowy back here. I said going into this one, it may not be sexy, it may not be as fun, but the Bills, I think, are best suited to lean into the running game, dictate things as they did against the Denver Broncos. And it was James Cook, Ty Johnson, Ray Davis, the running game that really was the driving force for their offense this evening.
Yeah, no, definitely. Actually, Vic and I were just kind of talking about that, how, Josh, we didn't actually have to see him tonight kind of put on the cape and say, let's get this thing over with and let's end it. As you said, the run game has been incredibly critical the last couple of weeks. And we've been talking about, the performance of the offensive line and how they're going to, at the end of the day, they're going to kind of dictate this thing. I think we saw it early. Ray Davis getting involved, as you said, James Cook getting a lot of big runs in there through the middle. But, Josh Allen really just did not. He had, of course, 2 rushing touchdowns, but he did not have to necessarily put on his cape and take this one home.
No, again, look at the numbers. All those, and they're still celebrating, I guess, with fireworks. But look at the numbers. The running attempts were like in the 36, I think, something range, and then the pass attempts 20 some odd by Josh, and only 127 yards passing, no touchdown passes, but the biggest and best stat of all for the Bills offense, no turnovers. Right. And one more thing, 1 penalty, a very questionable holding call, I think, on Deion Dawkins. So the cleanliness of the Bills game spoke louder, I guess, than the production, the yards. And yes, they got points, but a lot of those, again, most of them resulting from their ability to take advantage of Raven mistakes.
And that goes to Lindsey's point that she jumped off with here. The Ravens and Baltimore made mistakes. The Bills, by and large, did not. In postseason football in particular, the cleanest team usually comes out on top. I will just add one little thing with this offense. They were leaning on the run. They didn't need the pass. But Amari Cooper did not see a target until 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Keon Coleman had the DPI at the end of the first half that set up the touchdown, but that's not a target. He didn't see the ball again until about 4 minutes left in the football game. If we're forecasting ahead to the Kansas City Chiefs, I do not think that plan of attack, your 2 arguably with Shakir is number 1, but with those 2 weapons being non-existent, I just don't know if that's sustainable to beat the 2-time defending Super Bowl champs.
Not at all. They need absolutely the ability to score when you've got a Kansas City team that has that scoring potential. They don't show it a lot, but you saw Travis Kelce against Houston have 7 catches. He was more of the dynamic presence, if you can call it that. And again, they took advantage of Houston mistakes in that game by and large. But I fully agree, John. They have got to have more of an offensive threat. They've got to at least loosen up that Kansas City defense because Steve Spagnuolo is going to have a lot of gimmicks and strategy designed to make things difficult on not just Josh Allen, on that run game. You got Chris Jones, you got Drew Tranquill. They've got so many talented players in that defense and a very talented coach that I think can take away a lot of things as long. But the way the Bills counter that is to come at them with a lot of things, and I don't know that a one-dimensional power game is going to do it.
It'd be a lot more fun if they threw the football as well, let me tell you. I mean, a win's a win. I know all of you at home are saying that, but I want to see the Mahomes versus Allen showdown that I think many hoped maybe Lamar Jackson versus Allen would be. Lindsey, your initial thoughts on this AFC Championship matchup between the Bills and Chiefs?
Yeah, I'm excited, I have to say. I think back in – what week was that? It was – whatever week it was, it doesn't matter. But
middle of the season.
Yes, whatever. Mid-season. I think after that game, we had heard a lot of, again, narratives about, it's the regular season and the postseason and just how they differ and things like that, and how, the Chiefs have some things weapons they haven't wanted to put out there yet. Same with the Bills. Josh Allen kind of saying we don't want to show our full display here quite yet. I think it's going to be an awesome game. I think a lot of people, including myself, felt that the winner, whoever came out on top tonight, just because of, these two opponents going head to head, we knew it was going to be a good game. We knew it was going to be competitive, kind of a shootout in a way. I feel confident about the Bills going into this weekend. Of course, like as I said, there's always going to be that narrative about regular season, postseason, the Chiefs kind of peaking at the right time. And they are a different team. That's the other thing, too. They're as the Bills are, they are a different team at this point in the season.
Look, a big storyline going into this game is Kansas City's postseason experience. And it isn't just playoff games, it's Super Bowl experience. It's back-to-back Super Bowls. It's the goal of making history, of trying to get to a third in a row and win a third in a row. All of these things are definitely going to be on their plate as they prepare for this game. But, will we see a different type of Kansas City team than the Bills saw in the regular season? Likely so, but I also think that's the same is true for the Bills. And in their preparation, they've known all along that these teams were on a collision course. So even though I think Josh Allen tried to downplay that after this game against the Ravens, as I recall after that regular season game and the conversation that he and Patrick Mahomes had at midfield out here, they were destined. They knew what was coming next, that they would likely see each other in the postseason. They are, and it's exciting. I think it's the crescendo. Could the NFL want anything more than that type of rematch?
I think both teams are about as close to what they were when they faced each other as maybe you could hope for. It was mid-November, I believe, right before the bye week. Isaiah Pacheco's back. Hollywood Brown's playing. Yeah, have the Chiefs shown a little more flashes with the Kelsey and things like that? But they kind of are who they are. They're a team that wins by 7, 8 points. They find ways to get over the hump in the fourth quarter. That's the way they've been living all season. Frankly, it's the way they were kind of living all of last season as well. They're clearly the best at it, but I think the Bills can get them. I didn't think the Bills would win this football game. We have a lot more talking to do heading into the Kansas City game. I think the Buffalo Bills are headed to the Super Bowl. I think they can beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And I want to end here with both of you. Mindset. We talk about pressure, getting past the divisional round, something this team hasn't done, getting over the hump. Allen's never been to the Super Bowl. Can Sean McDermott coach his way to the Super Bowl? Being around this team all year and even tonight after this game, they don't appear as a team, as of right now, to carry the weight of all of that. If anyone does, it might be more the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, and it's, again, as you said, mentality, mindset, things like that. They don't feel like a team that also has the weight of the world on their shoulders and they're going to, upset. I don't even really know how to explain it. It's a very lax group. It's a very, we always hear Josh Allen tonight talking about, it just demonstrates how much love we have for each other and this and that and just excitement and things like that, getting over the hump. But it doesn't seem like there is all of this pressure to go out there that they're going to, panic right at that time.
Yeah, I concur with John. I think there is a sense of destiny here about the Bills ending up in New Orleans for that Super Bowl. and it's largely because of the outcome of this game. Did we not feel right along that and you've heard any number of national pundits say it too, that the winner of this Bills-Ravens game is likely the team that gets to the Super Bowl and likely wins the Super Bowl. This would send maybe the more deserving team out of the AFC, and maybe even and I've heard this storyline in years past about different teams, that winning that the teams that meet up in a divisional round game can actually make that a more indicative than the AFC Championship or the Conference Championship game of who the best in the conference is. Well, I think that might be what we have here, and we'll see how it all plays out in Kansas City. But I do feel that to some degree there's a house money feeling that the Bills will have that they're playing with in this game. That there's a lot of pressure on Kansas City, and does Kansas City have something left in the tank? Going and winning back-to-back Super Bowls takes a lot out of you, and going for that third one, do the Bills just have a little more in their tank?
If there's anyone who's comfortable playing in Arrowhead in the postseason, playing in Kansas City in general, myself, I think a bunch of us, we have real estate already in Kansas City. We've been there so many dang times in the past 3, 4, 5 years here. It's almost been there. I think we've been there more than divisional opponents. So it's a familiar opponent, a familiar setting, and we will see if the results are unfamiliar next weekend, Sunday evening, 6:30 kickoff in Kansas City. With Vic Carucci, Lindsey, Moppert, I'm John Scott for Channel 2 Sports.